Well, it is time for me to start cleaning up my basement in preparations for putting mushrooms down here for the 2017 year. One of the first things I need to do is replace some of these lights. If you remember, these are 10-watt LED floodlights, weatherproof. I got a few of them that have kind of got loose in the wiring. A few over here too, where I've adjusted things. Really the amount of light that's down here is probably adequate, but more would help, just for, at least seeing what I'm doing. Another thing I need to do is I'm going to hang plastic from about this corner over here, take it up over here, and section this about a 20-foot by 10-foot area off, and restrict the space that I'm growing the king oysters and the lion's mane. And the reason for that is I can control the humidity a bit better. I'm not getting oyster mushroom spores on everything because I have all this stuff out here. Any shelf, any tools or whatnot I have eventually gets coated in oyster mushroom spores. So I'll have that plastic there with a bit of distance at the bottom of it to allow air to be drawn in. I'm going to take the exhaust fan over there that I usually have exhaust being blown out and move it over here to this vent besides the air intake. Now you might think that might be a problem because you're blowing out one and then sucking in the other, but as long as I blow it out hard on the one side, and wind's always coming from west to east around here, so you'll never have hardly any of it go back on the intake. So I'm going to readjust my air intake box with furnace filter over here. Remember that. Need to change that filter too, clean it out. That'll be rehung about right here, so that the air from it will be the first air that gets sucked into this area. So it's going to be a one-way path of air going out this way, which is what you want. And that way it'll prevent a lot of spores from getting over here. I'll be able to humidify a smaller area much more efficiently if it gets really dry this summer, or if I continue in the winter. I think that'll make a good change. And then all the extra space, because I still have lights and whatnot, I'm really hoping that the morel mushrooms take off, and if they do, I'll be preparing a lot of morel spawn and putting it down here. You see all these restaurant bakery rack shelves I got at auction for a good price, as well as if you see me use any of these trays, heavy gauge aluminum trays, all kinds of applications. But I can always use these, the rack bags of morel spawn or any other spawn that I don't have room in the lab on the shelves. I can put it a bit down here and they'll still grow fine in about 65 degree, 70 degree temperatures. I need to bleach the walls and the floor. You can see where I've had a little bit of water leakage just from the rains. Any water that soaks in eventually in the walls will create black mold. So you just got to keep them dry as much as you can and respray with a 10% bleach solution every once in a while. I'm going to sweep up things first in all the areas too, and then probably give everything a wash down with the hose. I need to find a better place to hang all this hose too, because it's a bit in the way at the moment. But once I reorganize everything, I hope to make work a bit more efficient down here. I really would like to eventually too get some of this wiring a bit more tidied up and protected from high moisture, although I've never had any problems with it other than black mold getting on it when it's really high humidity. So I'm going to get to cleaning all that up. Oh, another thing too I should mention. I've noticed since I'm going to be doing grain bags that usually I fill the bags up a bit higher than a sawdust bag, so they're gonna stand a bit taller. Say the sawdust bags would stand about that tall, so you'd have about this much clearance to the shelf above. But I can really max that out since I'm only using the first 3 shelves. I don't need all this, space for the bottom. So any of these newer shelves, I'm going to bang the shelves apart with the rubber mallet and readjust them so I get about another 2-3 inches per shelf, and that'll give me room to pack grain bags 6 inches tall, so I can get as much mushrooms for the amount of space I'm using. And some of these shelves I've had literally forever since I've been doing this, like this one, and you can even tell where I've tried to bang them apart. There's no banging them apart. They've kind of fused together with lime and paint and rust and everything you think of. It'll bend the shelves up before it separates. So I'll probably use those older shelves for lion's mane and any other non-king oyster applications. But I got a lot of these ones that are new, so they'll do. So I'm gonna get all this cleaned up, get it set up, reorganized, take a look at how it looks, and then I'm gonna start working on cleaning up and organizing the lab room. Well, it's later today, and I got most of this finished. I decided I'm not really gonna scrub anything down or wash anything down until about a week before stuff goes in here. It'll be about mid-April. But you can see I got things moved out of the way, cleared up. I have this plastic sheet down as a curtain to separate this area off, cut in the center so I can walk through it. And I'll have to close it up on this side too, because I don't want all the air coming back from over here to be pulled. Also too, I need to chop the bottom off of it about 6 inches, so there's plenty of space against the floor for a draft to be pulled in. You can see above me is my filter box that I made a while back. Hanging out of the way now where it probably should have been when I originally made it. I was able to remove one of the lengths of hose to the intake fan, so that's all straightened out and taut and hung up out of the way as well. So it looks a lot more tidy. Go in here. And you can see back here I have the exhaust fan hooked up with just a small amount of hose to get it on there because the shape of the vent hole was kind of oblong. And unfortunately, what I thought were lights that the wiring came loose was actually lights that the transformers inside have died, which is sad because the LED bulbs in these would last for almost forever, and that's really only what kills LED bulbs and such that you get from China is the poor quality they use for the transformers, and they burn out. But the ones that died, I'm going to open up and see if I can replace the transformers, because I can also buy the transformers from China for probably like 50 cents a pop. But for the time, you see there's plenty of light in here. A little bit of sunlight outside too. It's a sunny day. Now I really tried to adjust these steel shells. See, they're black painted, enamel paint, and they're the style that have a collar that's split in half that goes on each side, and it locks into each one of these notches you see here. That allows for the shelf collar to slide over it and pinch it and hold it in. But over time, lime and rust get in between it all, and even though I banged on it with a hammer and 2x4 and everything I could, all I did was I bent the shelves up, and some of them slid, but I couldn't get the plastic collar to separate to put on a new notch, so that's not going to happen. So I think I'm going to just use these shelves for morels and lion's mane And I'd like to try some of the abortive entolomas, see if I can grow those too. That'd probably be a good tech for these as well. Or good shells for these tech. So, what I'm going to do instead is make use of all these bread carts that I have. And you see they're about 1.5 feet taller than the previous shelving. And I figure I can get 4 pans per shelf with enough space to work and breathe and get light in there. The pans kind of reflect the light in too, so that's good. But I can only probably get 6 bags per pan, just because of all the racks will cut into any mushrooms on the side, so you want to try to keep everything away from that. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe the ones on the ends sticking out, hanging over a little bit. It won't hurt. And that'll give me the same amount of mushrooms I would be using. 6 times 4 is 24 versus 8 bags a shelf per 3 shells is 24. So I'm not losing any or gaining any per square footage. But I am making use of shelves that I can easily move around smoothly without jostling over the concrete. And two, usually when I work on the mushrooms to harvest them, I take 1 bag out at a time, chop the mushrooms off, tear the top off, put it back. And it's like back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. This method, I just take the entire pan out, 6 bags at a time, put it on my rolling cart, about waist high. That will probably speed things up, make it more efficient. Plus these trays will catch a little bit of the loose vermiculite that gets on the floor. Makes a real mess. It's hard to sweep up. So that's about it for now. Like I said, I'm not going to bleach anything or wash anything down, just because I might as well not wait till it's close to have stuff down here so it's as clean as possible. That too, I'll probably get at least most of the seedlings I have back over here, get them outside to the greenhouse when they're large and it's warm enough outside. So let's check in upstairs in the lab and see what needs to be done to there.